This video is brought to you by Cubamajigs, a series of reusable gaming packs for MTG Cube, Sideboards, and other games like Keyforge. Check them out at Cubamajigs.com with new designs every Monday. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Monday means it's Modern Monday here in Instant Deck Tech land, and we have a super sweet Ravnica Allegiance influence deck to look at today. This is another Electrodominance deck, but rather than using Living End like we talked about a couple weeks ago, this is Electro-Balance, looking to use Electrodominance and Friends to cheat Restore Balance and Ancestral Visions into play, do some really cool stuff. And this one comes to us from Arsenal Munch, who took it to a who took it to a 5-0 finish in a competitive Modern League on Magic Online. So congrats to Arsenal Munch on a super sweet deck. A quick reminder before we break down Electro-Balance for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So let's talk some Electro-Balance, starting with Electro-Dominance. And similar to the Living End deck we talked about a couple of weeks back, the idea with Electro-Dominance in this deck isn't to throw a ton of damage at our opponent's face. Instead, we are using this as a way to cheat cards without a converted mana cost, like Ancestral Recall and Restore Balance, into play for just 2 mana. So 2 mana, we get to cast one of those cards for free. It joins As Foretold as an additional way to play those cards without suspending them, waiting a million turns. As Foretold, we just play it, and then we can cast something for no mana right away, and then turn by turn it builds up so we can cast bigger things. So this gives us 8 ways of cheating our free cards into play, and then we have our 8 free cards. So Ancestral Visions doesn't really do anything on its own. It just keeps us drawing through our deck. But drawing through our deck is good, because drawing through our deck means we're going to find our finishers and eventually our Restore Balance. And Restore Balance is the card that pretty much just closes out the game. You probably remember this one. We've played it on Budget Magic before. Basically, each player has to go down to the number of lands as the player who has the least number, and the same with creatures and cards in hand. So if we can get the game state to a point where we don't have very many lands, we have no creatures, maybe we don't even have that many cards in hand, we can pretty much just wreck our opponent and make them lose all their resources. So if we can have just one finisher sticking around, we should be able to leverage that into winning the game. So this is the main plan of the deck, using Electrodominance As Foretold to cast Ancestral Visions and eventually Restore Balance. We also have Teleria West, which is just in our deck to tutor up our no mana cost spells. Teleria West, 3 mana Transmute, can grab either Restore Balance or Ancestral Vision, depending on what we need. As far as finishing the game, we have 2 main plans. One is Greater Gargadon, which is a traditional finisher for Restore Balance decks. Greater Gargadon works incredibly well with Restore Balance because we can suspend it for just 1 mana, and then when we go to resolve our Restore Balance, we can use Gargadon to sacrifice all of our lands, which means the Restore Balance is going to get rid of all of our opponent's lands, and then Gargadon comes down as a 9/7 and just smashes our opponent in a couple of turns. As a backup plan, we have Jacebyte Sculptor. If we can get rid of all of our opponent's board, all of their lands, most of their hand, having a Jace on the battlefield to tick up, make sure our opponent doesn't draw any lands in the future, is a pretty good way to win the game, because eventually we're going to get to that -12, get rid of everything, and just win the game on the spot, essentially. So that's how we finish the game. Otherwise, the deck is interesting. So traditionally with Restore Balance decks, you gotta play all these expensive cards because you need to cascade into your Restore Balance. This deck, you don't need to do that. We can overload on 1 mana cantrips. In fact, 12 1 mana cantrips to get things set up, because we don't have any cascade spells in the deck. So Observe, Vision, Sleight of Hand, just churn through our deck, find Electrodominance, find our As Foretold, find our Restore Balances, and all of our big payoffs. Then we have a couple of Lightning Bolts for early game removal, 1 Tormod Script to deal with graveyard decks, 1 Blood Moon to jank them out, and this deck sees a lot of cards. So even though these are one-ofs, the odds that we find them eventually are pretty high, thanks to all those 1 mana cantrips, our Ancestral Visions and the like. Mana base, we talked about Teleria West, not really so much a land, but a tutor that we're using to find our free spells, a bunch of Izzet dual lands, a couple of basic lands. In the sideboard, we get some counter spells, Dispel, Cryptic Command to slow down our opponent, some removal, a Braid, Shattering Spree, Anger of the Gods, so ways to deal with artifacts, early game creatures, and sweep away a board of cheap creatures, another Jace as a backup finisher, more Blood Moons for matchups where they're good, some more graveyard hate, and that is Electro-Balance for Modern. And that's our Instant Deck Tech for today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.